Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Sasha Rose here with Venus Wisdom. I think I am live. It says I'm live. I'm just going to do a really quick check and see. Good morning. There we go. All right. So, welcome to Venus Wisdom Friday Live. It is September 19th. And I'm so glad you're here. So thank you. I was getting messages. Where are you? My apologies. I'm starting a little later than I anticipated. And I am definitely feeling these eclipse energies. Let me know in the comments if you're having any experiences of feeling disoriented, slowed down, more emotional, more sensitive if you're sensitive. There's just like a way that these eclipses can really energetically affect us, especially if we're sensitive. And for me, I've always had that experience with eclipses. Now, the eclipse isn't even until Sunday. So I think this is going to be a particularly powerful eclipse in the way that it affects us physically and emotionally and spiritually, because already the energies are coming in. So, welcome, welcome. If you're new to Venus Wisdom, this is astrology with the sacred feminine at center. And what I mean by that is all of the astrological happenings I hold within the 19-month container of Venus's cycle with the sun that invites us into a heroine's journey. So when we start to look at what's happening in the world, when we start to look at our lives in the context of these 19-month containers, it is phenomenal. There is so much meaning that starts to land as far as certain patterns, certain synchronicities, certain repeating themes. And it's quite an ancient way of working with time. And the Venus cycle is a very, very precise measure of time. So I hope you enjoy this time together. I never know exactly what I'm going to say, but I do have some things I want to share about this astrological moment because it is so powerful. But before I go any further, I want to go ahead and take a moment and take a breath and light a candle, put on some oil. So if you have inspiration to do any of those things, feel free to join me. All right, so there's our spark of our flame. And this is something that is so wonderful to do when we're in this process of intentionality, to light a flame, to take a moment and look at that beautiful light, and also to just pause in our normal everyday life that we do. So as we light that flame, which is very relevant in that we're in a Venus and Aries cycle, this particular container. And so this 19 months is about that spark energy. But fire is always a way to bring us into focus, to bring us into connection with spirit. And so if you have that, you want to light one, feel free. And as we do that, I'm going to also put on some oil, some essential oil, because Venus is about the senses. And she's really about this fortification of our experience being in the body, and to amplify, to honor our felt sense of things. We receive so much wisdom through our body and through our emotions and through our feelings. And the way that I differentiate emotions and feelings is emotions oftentimes have a story. It's like, I'm feeling angry because you did this thing. I'm feeling sad because. That's more the emotions. So the emotions to me are a mixture of the pure raw feeling mixed with a story of the mind. So emotions always have a bit of the mind in them. And that's why we can loop in those same stories over and over again. So none of it's wrong. It's all to be worked with. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the emotions and the feelings. Pardon me. So taking a moment to slow down and feel ourselves. And what I like to invite is for you to feel yourself at your perfect pace. So slow down to your perfect pace to feel yourself. And for most of us, that's way slower than the pace that we're going. We're usually going at the pace of our head. And so this is an invitation to drop down into the heart and to feel ourselves more. and to just notice what's happening in your body right now. And notice how you're breathing without necessarily changing anything. See if you want to deepen your breath, but there's no force, there's no need to change anything. And allowing the top of your head to soften, your forehead to soften, your eyeballs to soften, and especially your jaw to soften. Your throat, your shoulders, letting everything just soften, softening in to the body and softening into the heart. And as you put your attention on your heart, you may feel this a waking up of what's happening in your heart, this aliveness there. And as you're slowing down, I invite you to just listen. Listen with all of you to whatever is happening there. And when I say listen, there might not be words, but there's a receiving of the experience. This is the way that we get into that deeper river of our heart. We can soften our belly. Our womb is holding our heart, that creative energy. The ability to create life is that center below that's holding the heart. So feeling your womb softening in, deepening in, really allowing yourself to feel your thighs and your knees and your calves and your feet, and especially the soles of your feet. You can open up the soles of your feet and be more available for that earth energy that's always rising. There's this earth energy that rises, called different things in different cultures. But when you begin to tune into that, that's part of what being grounded is, right? Being available to that. So allowing the earth energy from below to rise and hold you. And then you can even bring your attention down about a foot below your feet, down into the earth or into your room or into wherever you are, to that earth star, that energy center that's below you. And from that, you can, with your attention, go down so you actually are deep enough to be in the earth. So go down through the soil, go down through the stones and the water, and just allow your attention to merge with the earth that's beneath you. Wherever you are, if you go down into the deep, there's soil and microorganisms and water and stones. There's life that's teeming beneath us all the time. Allowing that to rise up and allowing yourself to receive that through the soles of your feet, through your legs, through your root chakra, through your perineum. Allow that to lift up. Actually, surprised I said root chakra. I don't often talk about the chakras. And allow that energy to come up and fill up your body as much as it wants, so that you can let your organs relax. Let the holding relax for a moment and allow that energy to lift up and feel yourself be held by it. And if you want to put a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly, and just for a moment, close your eyes and go inside. And what we're doing is we're activating our healing power. So in your right hand, I want you to open up your palm, open up the energy center in your right palm. And just imagine that there's naturally healing energy flowing through that into your body. Anything that you need right now, the exact quality, the exact amount of energy. And open up your left palm. and allow that energy to flow into your belly. And so there's like a circuit. There's energy coming through your right palm, there's energy coming through your left palm. And then there's this place where they kind of, those energies meet and mingle. And your body gets to receive your own healing touch, your own healing energy. And if you don't want to touch yourself, you can actually do this without touch. But it is nice to have the touch. Touch is very Venusian. The sensuality of the senses was always going to bring us back to Venus. And notice how that changes how you're breathing, how you're feeling. It's like a hug of these two most important places, your heart. My eye is like not opening. And if you want to do a little tap on your heart, just kind of wake that up energetically. And soften again. And then maybe a little rub of your belly. Personally, my belly doesn't want to be patted, but you could roll around in a circle, roll around, touch, and then let that settle. How does it feel to hold yourself here? How does it feel to open up your own healing potential? Now, I will tell you something. I grew up in a spiritual community that was actually very well established. It had its heyday in the 80s, but it was international, and they were really based on the healing modality of this American mystic named Yoranda, who had started this organization in the 1940s. And he met up with this other man who was British royalty, and they started this international movement. Now, there's definitely some strange things about that, but what I want to focus on now is that the reason they started it is that this man, Yoranda, I'm going to go ahead and take my hands off now and just put my hands out in front. He discovered the power of healing touch through hands. And he called it attunement. So this is way before no one had heard of Reiki. That wasn't a thing. And it was basically this way that our hands are a polarity, and you could offer energy to anyone. You could offer energy to yourself, and you could allow that energy to flow through our own healing energy. No training needed. I mean, they did develop a training, but essentially no training needed. I mean, when I discovered this, I was quite young. When my mom entered this community, I was 5. And I remember as early as 8 years old that I would offer this, and it's not a healing touch because you're not touching. So it was always energetically, there was some space there, but you're allowing the energy to flow. So if someone had an injury, you would put your hands around them without touching them. So when I said touch, not quite, but the presence of that. And I noticed that there was a pretty amazing thing that happened when I did that as a child. And I didn't take the training or anything. I just saw adults doing this. And every week I had my weekly attunement. And I went into this room and I laid on a massage table. And these adults did this hands to the sides of me. And so, as we are as children, we just take these things at face value, like, okay, this is what's going on. And so I would put my hands if somebody got hurt, or one time there was a squirrel that got hit by a car, and I put it in a box and I gave it this healing energy, and it recovered and it was fine. And so I noticed that, and I did that my whole life, well, until I became a teenager and forgot about it. But then later I picked it back up again. So I just want to invite you in this eclipse time, with very intense time, to tune into this incredible resource of your own touch and your own healing energy. And that there's so many tools that are available to us that are so very, very simple, that can help us stay balanced, that can help us stay grounded, and really regulate our nervous system as we move through these portals of change. Okay, so I'd love to hear, if you want to try that over this next week with loved ones. It kind of works better if it's not on yourself. Honestly, it works better if you're giving touch to someone else, because I think it takes more mm, refinement in your perception to feel it for yourself sometimes, but try both. I mean, certainly try it on yourself. But when you put someone who's had an injury, you put your hands around them, actually it will heat up. They can feel it, and it can feel more painful before it gets better. And I would say that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's a healing response. So you can play with that this week. And yeah, I'd love to hear, any experiences that you have. And I'm sorry, my background is like distractingly fading in and out right now. I don't know if this light will help. But yeah, it's kind of here and then fading out behind me. Okay, so here we are. If you got up early, you got to see something glorious in the sky, I hope. I'm going to check the comments really quick. See if anybody's tuning in. Okay, nothing yet, but it really is beautiful. If you want to subscribe, if you want to make comments, I love to have feedback so I know how this Venus wisdom is landing with you. So this morning, Venus and the moon met and they were so close. I mean, they were at exactitude. If you were in Pacific time, you got to see them like at that meeting. And I don't know that I've ever seen them so close. And the place that they met was at the very, very last degree of Leo. And so we have this, what I call the new Venus portal at the very last degree of Leo. And it's then, now Venus is in Virgo. She shifted right after that into Virgo. So there's a really interesting moment to amplify that transition from the fixed fire of Leo, which is all about our personal expression. And it's like being seen in our expression. It's about our creative energy. And it really always reminds me of that little kid who jumps on the stage and starts belting out the song because it feels so good and it's so fun. So there's this energy of being a performer that could definitely be more of a trained performer, but the Leo energy is very connected to our inner child. And most of us, when we were young, we didn't have that inhibition. We just sang, we danced, we wrote poetry. We had no cap on that. And so it's interesting to me that this Venus portal is Venus and the moon coming together and really unearthing or activating our experience of ourselves as creative beings. Because that transition from the Leo consciousness into the Virgo consciousness is one of moving from a certain kind of self centeredness that is not necessarily a negative self centeredness. I mean, it can be. All of the signs have shadows. And of course, the shadow of Leo can be narcissism, being too focused on self. But generally speaking, we have both the positive and the negative. So that sense of being at center, expressing ourselves, getting on the stage, and then that child looks over and sees, oh, there's another child singing on another stage. And this other child has had singing lessons since she was 3. And she's singing a different kind of song. She's not just belting it out. She's actually had skill and practice. And that's the transition into the Virgo consciousness. It's that dawning of like, oh my gosh, I could be better. And in this dominator culture, oftentimes that's accompanied with shame, self-criticism, judgment. Those are shadow Virgos. But really, it's this move towards refinement, like, oh, I could be better. And the reason that's so important is because that place of Virgo, that Virgo consciousness that we're now in with the tail end of the sun, which is going to be meeting the moon and have the eclipse on Sunday. And now Venus has joined that crew. The importance of that is it's a preparation of refinement and devotion to the detail of how we're living our life on the ground. So it's very much about practical details of life. It's about systems and habits, how we take care of our body. And the energy that we bring into that, is that just a chore that we're moving through without being mindful, without connecting to what we're doing? Or is it something where we're bringing our devotion? What can we change in our environment to make it better? How can we clean? How can we organize? How can we beautify? And so if we drop the shame of that, then we are really in this devotion to perfecting, knowing that it will never be perfect. So take out the perfectionism and just be in that process of perfecting. Oh, I'm perfecting. So we all have this somewhere in our chart. We all have the sign of Virgo somewhere in our chart. And if you have any specific planets either at the very beginning of Virgo, which now where Venus is and the moon is, they shifted together, or at the end of Virgo, where the sun and moon will be meeting up at 29 degrees on Sunday for the final eclipse in the series, then it's going to be particularly personal for you. That question of refining and how can I be better? How can I be of better service? Service is very important to these eclipses because they touch upon the axis of the Virgo mysteries, the changeable earth. And in that changing, there's a real ability to analyze and put things in compartments and figure out how the system can work better. Virgo rules the digestion. Virgo rules what we integrate, what we digest. And so Virgo is very much about that process of integration and letting go of what we don't need, the waste that we don't need. So that's what's happening in our digestive system. Where are the nutrients here? And what is the waste? And being able to sort those and flush out the waste makes a healthy system. And then the detail of like, well, what in my environment would support my body? It's very much connected to the plant world. Virgo is the earth sign that is connected to plants and plant medicine, and not just plant medicine in a way that is creating altered states, but plant medicine as far as all the herbs, all the allies, all the flowers, all of the plants that support us, and the multitude of ways in our medicine ways. So this is a really good time to look at your habits and look at what's supporting you. It's always a good time when we have an equinox or a solstice, those points of the wheel. I had a teacher once in the study of holistic medicine who said that really watch your body. Look at what comes up at those peak dates of the equinoxes and the I'm totally blanking. My brain is not working properly. Solstices. So pay attention, in the next few days and see. And then what are your good habits? You already know what they are. You know your body and you know what your body wants to eat and what teas can support. If you're ever in doubt, I will say, having a protocol where you have a few mornings where you do nettles tea, that's a blood cleanser. It's so amazing. And it's just been calling to me. I'm like, where do I get nettles tea here? Because I'm in New Mexico and I don't have all my usual shops. I'm sure it's at the natural food store, but taking a quart jar and filling it generously, like maybe a quarter full with nettles, dried nettles tea, and then adding water and then really letting that steep for a good amount of time and draining it out. That's the kind of thing that is always good to do. But during these amplified times is particularly, it ripples further, in that kind of self-care. So that's one example. You likely have your own examples from your own life. It's a good time to remember. It's a good time to make lists Virgo loves lists. It's like, okay, let's write it out. What could be helpful right now? And not to overwhelm yourself because there's a lot going on, and those kind of things can feel like a whole other stressor, but to just let naturally to arise, like what will support me right now, just be in that inquiry. I feel like that's a really beautiful way to let your body tell you. Like for me, it was the nettles tea. I'm like, oh, I need to take some nettles tea. So there's something about this Virgo energy coming in that feels like our bodies need attention, and we're preparing for the equinox, and Virgo is preparing for Libra. So Virgo is the sign that is connected to Mercury, our mind, as well as I do use the major asteroid Vesta as a ruler of Virgo. I just found it, there's so much connection there, which is about sacred service. She's that little flame icon. If you have her on your chart, you'll see that little flame. She's super cool. She connects back to the Vestal Virgins and like this real idea of sisterhood, sisters living together in devotion to something higher. And I find that energy to make a lot of sense in some ways more than just Mercury, which is very airy and movable and changeable. It has a different energy to it. So I do like that Vesta connection. So that preparation is getting us ready. The mind, of course, is good for the analytical part, which is a Virgoan thing. The ability to analyze is part of that medicine. But the preparation is to go to Libra, which means to go into relationship. That's the first time in the wheel, in the heroine's journey of the zodiac, or the hero's journey, or whatever the journey. We won't put any male or female on it. I generally say that Venus as a heroine's journey is a journey within. Venus is our attention in. It's what happens inside of us. It's our inner world. And then Mars is attention out. So, the zodiac has its own progression, which is a developmental progression. And the Virgo is getting ready to meet other for the first time. So there's been 6 signs that have been moved through from Aries to Virgo before we even dawn on the awareness of other. So other is a whole opening of a world, like, wow, this is where we really get our mind blown that there's another being that has a whole different universe happening for them. And so how do we connect? How do we connect with that other? So a lot of that refining of ourself is to prepare to meet other, to know ourselves, to understand ourselves, and to be in a place where we can be receptive to another and still to know who we are. But there's a major learning that happens from other, because they're going to trigger us and they're going to enchant us, and they're going to stimulate us in a way that we don't do on our own. But so much of it is connected to each of our own universe that we're carrying, our own life experiences, our own paradigm that we're carrying with us, the lens that we have. And so the Libra is this real chance of looking at across from ourselves and looking at other. And so connection to Venus is about relating. How do I relate to other? Well, empathy is a huge, huge, huge way to connect. It's one of the main calls for the Venusian path, is develop empathetic understanding. How do I sit with another through their experience, through their pain, without losing myself, without projecting onto them? It is an art, and my own journey has brought me, especially in this cycle, in this Venus and Aries cycle that we're in, into so many experiences where I see the tragedy of the lack of empathy, especially among women, visionary women. But I've seen this my whole life because I grew up in that spiritual community, that utopian community, right? We were told, you're the ones, the whole world's falling apart and we're the ones here to save it. I was told this a lot as a kid. So there's a lot of visions of how it could be. How could we create a new paradigm culture But without the empathetic understanding on the ground, you can't fake that. It doesn't go well. And I've seen so many communities fall apart, and whatever the statistics are, like how many intentional communities fail, most. And so I would say it's that, some call it like social permaculture. If we look at the whole system of what a culture is and what a home place is and how we're moving through the home and how we're growing food, then the social permaculture is how are we relating with another, and how are we honoring each other, and how are we actually strengthening each other's gifts, how are we actually opening up our collective genius by coming into contact with others instead of shutting each other down. This is the invitation into the age of Aquarius, into the golden age, that opening of humanity that doesn't come from just me knowing myself. It comes from sovereign beings who do know themselves, do know their gifts. And then we begin relating together and we begin to have collaborations together. That is the invitation for the golden age, the awakening of humanity to our genius that is much larger than ourselves, but we have to have ourselves first. So there's a lot here in this movement into equinox. And of course, Libra is an air sign. It's a cardinal air sign. It's a initiating air sign. So Libra is seeking relationship, that seeking energy of initiating. So Libra is an air sign, and then the age of Aquarius is an air sign. And so there's something always about air signs that are objective, that I'm here and you're there, and how do we bridge the gap to understand each other? And there's a lot of medicine there. So that's the cusp that we're on. But before we even get there on Monday, holy wow, we have this new Venus portal this morning, and you can still see the moon and Venus together tomorrow, but they're not going to be at the last sign of Leo anymore. So the theme will have changed because, of course, they're in ever motion. But it's still good to get up. It's still good to get up and see them and receive their light if you can. So we're having this whole party in Virgo with Venus and the moon and the South Node and the sun. And we're building towards this eclipse that's going to happen on Sunday. And let me just pull that up really quick because I feel like there's some things I wanted to say specifically about it. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And I will come back and check and answer them. Or, if you have any feedback, feel free to put that in the chat. I am feeling inspired to move off Facebook more and more because it just feels like it's too hard, that the way that algorithms have changed, to actually have a conversation over there. And so I'm really having a lot of my own contemplation in this eclipse time about where do I want to be, where do I want to bring Venus wisdom, and how can I actually reach visionary women of heart, entrepreneurs, leaders, those that really feel like you are here to be a part of the solution, healers, teachers, just dreamers of all kinds that want to work with this cycle in order to amplify your own understanding of yourself and your gifts and what you're here to bring, and how to give yourself that self-love so that you can hold yourself no matter what anyone else is doing. You can tap into that mother love from within. And earlier when we were in the meditation, I meant to say, I meant to name that energy of unconditional love of the mother, because I feel like that is so connected to the Venus cycle. I see the sun as being the mother energy, and then Venus as being the daughter energy, and this whole journey being about that relationship of the development of the feminine, going through the initiations and becoming a mature woman who can then stand in her medicine. So there is quite a bit of the feminine mysteries woven in here. And I like to think of that background energy of creation as the cosmic feminine. Some might say mother god or unconditional love or the mystery. I don't know the words, but it's a feeling. And it's a feeling that we can access right in our own hearts. We don't have to go anywhere. And I'm a little bit different in that I have done all the, maybe not all, I've done many, many, many of the rituals and practices of different flavors of spirituality, from Wicca to New Age to Tibetan Buddhism for 20 years. I've really been on the path of seeking. I had an extraordinary, extraordinary experience when I was 22 years old that awakened me to the power of love and what this reality is. And that this reality is really based on love, that love is the most powerful force in the universe. And so I went on a path to understand what that actually meant. So I've done a lot of rituals and ceremonies. And of course, I grew up in that spiritual community, which was reading what was that book that everyone reads, Course in Miracles, and you know, all of the new age stuff. I grew up with it. So I don't discount it in the sense that I haven't tried it on or experienced it. I would propose for contemplation, and I've absolutely no agenda to get anyone to do anything that doesn't feel aligned. So I'm not trying to convince anyone of what to do, but I would propose, I have an inkling, I have an intuition that going into the age of Aquarius, which is so futuristic and it's so new territory, although there's an ancient, of course, if we go into any of the spiritual traditions, we can feel there's an ancient pattern that wants to come forward. There's a remembering that's there. So there's an ancient remembering, but something new wants to happen. And I would say that because New Age spirituality has become so popular, suddenly it's very mainstream. It's like a lot of people are introduced to it for the first time. And there's a dynamic of there not being a lot of caution. A lot of people were turned off by organized religion, Christianity in some version, and so they went into New Age spirituality, feeling like that was a liberation. And I would say that there's not enough caution from my own experience with spiritual warfare, and that there are entities who can absolutely have influence over this realm. And so I don't invoke any entities anymore, any deities, any of them. And I know that that's different because a lot of people are really doing that now and learning about ritual and learning about ceremony and feeling connected. So I'm not trying to discount any of that. I would just propose that um, there may be a liability to that many don't understand, because unless you really know the tradition and you really know that deity and what they're about, then you don't know the energy that you're invoking in. And it's hard to see and it's hard to know. But a lot of those ancient deities were a part of practices and rituals that hurt children, that involve children sacrifice. It's really dark. So be careful. The Sumerian gods and goddesses, the Egyptian gods and goddesses, the Mayan gods and goddesses, really ask yourself, were children harmed in connection to this deity, and see what answer you get. Because I think it's a good time to not just blindly put on those rose colored glasses and be working with energies that we don't understand. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I've had a lot of experience in spiritual spaces where energies that I didn't want to be there were there, and then I had to deal with that. So especially at the eclipse time, it's like the veils are thinner right now. And so when we are connected to our own love and when we fill up with that love, which is something we can do like in an instant, like right now, just see if you can connect with the energy of your heart. Easy, natural, like right there. And then just allow your body to fill up with that love from head to toe, all your cells singing with this love, all your cells bright with it, happy with it. Just see how that feels. Like that's your armor. And then you can extend that into your aura if you wish. So, around you, you can extend that love. How's that feel? So easy, these things. So yeah, that's my thought on that. The eclipse time is a time to be extra mindful about what we're invoking. The Tibetans say that everything is amplified 100,000 times, every thought, every deed, every prayer. So Sunday is a great day to be in practice. And that's with solar eclipses. With lunar eclipses, the implication is 10,000 times. So I don't subscribe to all of Buddhism anymore, but I think there's truth in every religion. There's truth and some lies. And Buddhism is definitely a religion, and there's definitely a lot of abuse in the the Tibetan Buddhist practices, the crazy wisdom practices that came over from Tibet, from a culture we didn't understand. And a lot of Americans in the 60s during that revolution were seeking something new that wasn't Christianity and didn't understand the ins and outs. And so I think there was a real embracing of that. Um, Ram Dass and the Beatles, and of course, all of these figures were sitting at the feet of these gurus and learning from them. And I'm not to say that there wasn't good in that, but there's also a lot of abuse that came in because those cultures are very patriarchal and negative towards women for sure. And if you don't follow B. Schofield, she wrote a book, Hunting Lucifer, I think it's called. But she considers herself a cult reporter, and she just did a new report. This one's on Soltram Alioni, who's a very well-known woman in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. And there's a lot of abuse going on. So anyway, that's how I approach everything these days. There's truth and there's lies, and it's our job with our bodies and our discernment and our hearts activated to discern between the two. So Sunday's a really great day to not plan anything and to allow yourself to be in the liminal and to be inward. Now, this eclipse is only visible in New Zealand. So for most of us, it's not going to be a choice whether to see it. I personally don't view eclipses. I don't feel like I want that energy coming into my eyes, into my body. And that's why I go out and I view Venus in the morning and I sun gaze and I look at those portals with Venus and the moon. Is I do want that energy to come into my body, and all kinds of stargazing. Like there are codes coming in when we look at the stars, there is light coming in. And so the energy of an eclipse, especially this eclipse, is an ending. It's a very strong ending energy that then will open the door for what comes next. And it's a bit chaotic. I mean, in the Eastern astrology tradition, it's the head and tail of the dragon, and they're not viewed, Ketu and Rahu, I think I'm saying that right. They're not viewed as positively as we do in Western astrology. There's a much more caution around the eclipses in these 2 points, the North Node being the head of the dragon and the South Node being the tail of the dragon. So this eclipse is happening at the tail of the dragon, the Virgo tail, which we've been dancing with in the sky since I think early year. But that gets amplified on the eclipse. It's really interesting because these North and South Node, they're an 18-month cycle. And so they change every 18 months. And the Venus cycle is every 19 months. So there's a bit of a parallel. They're usually changing around the same time, or at least as I've been tracking them since I've been syncing with Venus. Usually the nodes change right around the time before the new Venus cycle. So we had a new Venus cycle in March 22nd, Venus in Aries. And that is our energy that we're syncing with, that we're contemplating, that we're tuning into for the whole 19 months through October of 2026. It's that Aries energy of initiating fire, of being bold, of being true to ourselves, of caring less about what people think. one of the beautiful parts of Aries is that there's a lack of self-consciousness. Aries, just do it, don't think about it, don't overthink, just do it. It's about making a move. And so when that energy is with the feminine, it's about making a move from our heart, trusting our heart, moving from a place that's deeper than our head. So that's the energy of this current cycle. And then the nodes are, the north node is in Pisces, which is asking us to move towards the watery compassion, move towards unity consciousness, and also, move towards forgiveness of the ways that we haven't been kind and that we have been judgmental, because those two always move together. And the south node in Virgo can be judgmental and critical and just overthinking, anxiety. It's one of the harder nodal combinations. And if you have this personally, and please feel free to chime in if you have your south node in Virgo and your north node in Pisces, it's a big work for this lifetime to let go of that Virgo shadow, because the south node is always the deepest shadow of the sign. If you want to know the deepest shadow of your chart, of your being, go to your south node and look at that. And then the moon is, a lot of our conditioning for this lifetime. And then the north and the south node are connected to the moon's nodes. And so they're like, I like to think about it as our moon sign is our conditioning for this life, and how we were really molded by culture and family and the ways that we did or did not get our emotional needs met. So it's a lot centered on this life and our family, whereas the south node is like, I don't know, many, 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 many lives, or something that's way deeper. It's they call them the points of destiny. It's deeper, maybe lifetimes. I'm going to take a sip of tea. So that's what we have going on for this eclipse on Sunday, which is exact on 12:54 p.m. Pacific time. And because the energies are already so strong, I wouldn't be surprised if people feel altered. I've had experiences with eclipses where I feel like I'm on mushrooms or something, and I'm not. And I would not recommend, and thank you for the like, I would not recommend doing substances. If you drink, or if you microdose, or if you imbibe in cannabis regularly, I would not recommend doing that during this eclipse, especially on Sunday, because of the Pisces connection. Pisces already can have this quality of altering, and a way that reality is not what it seems. So I wouldn't add substances to that. I mean, not to say that substances, there's anything wrong with them, doing them in balance in your life. I mean, if that's what you do, I'm not saying that. I'm saying for Sunday, I would definitely avoid. It's more of an internal contemplative time. And of course, like if you have kids and you're a full-time parent, or you have stuff going on and you can't just stop everything, but just to know that, like, I would not go to a big event with a lot of people. But I'm super sensitive too, so I'm more careful about being in groups when there's these kind of portals going on. I wouldn't be doing something really stressful or something that took a lot of your focus on Sunday. It's a really good day to just allow yourself to do more of nothing and not to have an agenda. I'm going to check really quick. More comments. Okay, I have to refresh it to see. Oh, good. Oh, you couldn't see Juliet. Darn. Oh, good. Someone else saw it. Oh, wonderful. I love to see your comments there. Tomorrow you can also try, and that's the beautiful thing about the candle too, which my candle went out, is that even if you can't see it, you can still get up and you can still make the effort and go, okay, I'm not seeing it. And then you can also gaze. You can do candle gazing. You can do light gazing. and just focus your mind, and you can still receive the medicine of that portal, even if you can't see it. And I've done that many times when I have overcast skies, so I feel you. Okay, so this eclipse on Sunday. So it's the second eclipse that is finishing this series. And let me just look at the chart here. Yeah, so because it is a south node eclipse, there is a letting go energy, and it's a full moon. It's a south node eclipse. It's at 29 degrees, which is this anaretic degree that's considered a crisis degree, the final degree of a sign. It's like the mission is over. What are you going to do now? Kind of vibe. You can either just surrender to that, the mission's over, or there can be like a last push to do something. And so for Virgo, there could be a last push to like clench. Yeah, that's the shadow word for Virgo, is the clench. So releasing that, releasing what it is that wants to go. And it may be a place where we've been trying to build something or trying to create something, and it hasn't been coming into alignment. And this letting go can actually help us see what does want to come forward. So that's the energy of it for Sunday, to be more quiet, to be more inward as you can, to not have a lot of stimulation so you can receive what's coming through for you. Now, this is what I've come to in my own practice of working with the energies, the astrology energies, for many years. But it very much correlates with a lot of native traditions do not look at eclipses, and especially the Navajo or the Diné. They have a whole very, very serious protocol to not look at eclipses. And I've even seen Navajo people post on social media and say, please do not share your pictures of the eclipse because we don't want to see them. So they're very serious about it. And that's traditionally to go inside, to be inward, and not to be looking. I mean, I've heard one story that it's almost like it's a respect for the cosmic energies. So it's like almost like they're making love. I don't really feel eclipses are making love energy, but that was kind of an example, and that you wouldn't want to watch. You would want to, be in reverence. I don't know. There's so many different possibilities there. But so we had the first eclipse was on September 7th, and that was at 15 of Pisces, and that was at a full moon. But that was actually with the North Node, that moving towards compassion, moving towards unity consciousness, moving towards like the dream. And then but it was a full moon, which is a release. So we kind of have both things going on for this particular eclipse cycle. Now, the next eclipses that are going to happen in February and March of 2026, like our next eclipse in February is going to be also near the North Node in Pisces with a new moon. So it feels like that's going to be much more energetically about planting new seeds, because it doesn't have that contrasting energy to it. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's happening. And then the other thing that's happening that I didn't even track when I was writing up my email, which feel free to get on my email list. If you're not on my email list yet, you can go to my website, venuswisdom.com, and get on there, or leave a comment. You can get the free Venus guide to find out about your Venus, and that'll automatically put you on the list. That's probably the easiest way to do it. I'll put all those links in the notes. Or you can go to any other Venus Wisdom Live and you will see all the links there. Okay, so on the 20th, so Saturday, tomorrow, at 8:41 a.m. Pacific, Uranus, who is the agent of the age of Aquarius, the revolutionary, that anything can happen energy, which has a resonance with the eclipse energy. anything can happen energy. So Uranus and the eclipses kind of have a similar experience energetically. So we're already in this eclipse portal. There's more possibilities that are open. There's more of like the constraints and rules that hold this reality together that are open. The veils are thinner, all these ways of saying it. But the way that Uranus works is very quick and like a lightning bolt. And so Uranus is going to be in a tense aspect with Venus on Saturday morning. And so there's something with Venus in Virgo that is about being practical, that is about being grounded, that is about rooting in, that is taking care of all of these things. But there might be something unexpected that comes in, and it might be uncomfortable. So Uranus has been in Gemini, is newly in Gemini. And because both of those are in the mode of being changeable, so Gemini is changeable air, and Virgo's changeable earth, they're like in tension with each other. It's like, no, this is how I do changeable. No, this is how I do changeable. So it's like something has to give. And that's like a creative force that can really inspire us to make an adjustment. It can be an adjustment in our relationship. It can be adjustment in kind of the attention that you're putting on your self-care and what you need to do. There's some kind of release and change and adjustment that might come in on Saturday. And it might seem disruptive. Oftentimes, these kind of Uranian contacts are disruptive, but it ends up being something that helps us to be liberated, because Uranus really gives no fucks about our conditioning and our safety in the way that we're like, no, I want to just do what feels comfortable because it's known. Uranus is the unknown. Is like, no, we're gonna mix it up here for you. let me pull that safety blanket off. Yeah, that doesn't feel good, but look at what you can do. You didn't, that opened your view, and now you can see this other thing. So just kind of know that for Saturday. Nothing to be anticipating about, nothing to be in fear about. There's no reason to defend against any of this. That is actually the antithesis of transformation. If I'm saying that right, I don't know. Antithesis of what transformation is about. We can't resist and expect to actually move with those energies to have a positive change. That is the heroine's journey. We are welcoming what is actually showing up. We're being present with what's actually happening in our lives. So much astrology has gotten into this realm of anticipation, fear, clickbait. Oh my gosh, the most terrible thing ever. Oh my gosh, the most wonderful thing ever. Ah, it's like really just being present with what is. And yes, things can be more intense. The intensity volume is cranked up now, but the path of transformation is always meeting what is here. And then if you know that something is to be extra cautious, it is wise to take extra care, but we don't have to do that out of fear. We can do that out of care. So that's happening on Saturday, and then the eclipse is on Sunday. And so many things. Okay. There's something else I said in my email that I wanted to cover. I do want to go into Mars, but I think that was it. Okay. So then on Monday, we have Mars moving from Venus's sign of Libra. So, also Mars will be moving over that final point whenever we have a sign change of anything. That planet's moving over a final point, so 29 degrees of Libra into the new sign. And so for Mars, that's going to be moving into Scorpio. And the reason this is especially important is because, well, one, Mars is the ruler of Scorpio. So it's like an extra dose of that ability to move out, to put our attention out powerfully. Now, if Mars is connected to our heart, there's no problem. The problem happens with heartless actions, right? So that's why it's so important that we are connecting our Venus and our Mars in our own being, in our own system. It's like we have our own universe inside of us. We want to get our own Venus and Mars on the same page so that Mars is in service to our heart and the mind is in service to our heart. The heart becomes our queen of our universe. And Mars being in his home sign is powerful in that we may be able to be more assertive, or we may be able to set boundaries. We may be able to have more of a power of perception with that invitation in the sky. And of course, if you have planets there, it's going to be amplified. That's what Scorpio is like this power to see beneath. Scorpio is connected to the underworld. Mars in that flavor and expression of Mars is connected to the underworld. Pluto is connected to the underworld, which is the realm that is beneath what we can see. It's the realm where the shadows are. It's also the realm where transformation happens. And it's a place where we can find the deeper meaning and the deeper resources. So the outcome of really receiving the Scorpio medicine is more resilience, more perception, more ability to hold ourselves. So, a really important sign in our process of transformation. It's about transformation. So, Mars is going there, and immediately, fairly immediately, will start to make another square, another tense aspect with Pluto, the other planet connected with the underworld, because Pluto's in Aquarius. And Mars is in fixed water of Scorpio, and Pluto's in fixed air of Aquarius. So there's a tension pattern there. And those two together, not connected to the heart, which, you got to assume in the world that not everyone has their hearts online, that it can be about aggression, it can be about revenge, it can be about acting out in not a positive way. Mars is ultimately the protector, and in the correct order of things, the protector of innocence, the protector of the feminine. So that would be another time to just be aware of that without being in fear, and to make sure that we're not getting into power dynamics or pushing back or power struggles, because something wants to give and something wants to change, and we don't want that to come out sideways on any level. It's also a really good time for spiritual protection. Every day is a good day for spiritual protection. But again, just simply connecting with your own love and filling up your whole body and then your aura with your love, can be enough. It doesn't have to be a big thing. So that means the next week after that eclipse is going to be a little bit on the intense side, because Mars is going to be moving into this square with Pluto, which is exact or perfects, I think, on Wednesday. Let me check. Yeah, on September 24th, they'll be exact. So there's just that window of time between Monday and Wednesday where we want to be aware of that. We don't want to be inciting someone. I mean, there's so much that's getting incited. There's so much division right now. It's like there's a lot of potential for conflicts to go sideways and for people to butting against each other. This aspect after the eclipse, it's like, okay, well, we let go of that thing, whatever that thing is for us personally that we're holding on to. And now the way is opened. And there's this, walking gently through that and being really connected to what we do want to create. So back to Mars and why Mars is important. So in every Venus cycle, we have Venus meeting the sun in a certain sign, and that sign has a connection to a planet. So Venus meeting the sun in the sign of Aries means that Mars is connected to Aries. And so Mars is connected to this cycle. So I consider that to be the co pilot of the cycle. Mars is the co pilot of this Venus and Aries cycle. And so it's particularly important that we are connecting our hearts with our action. I'm going to go ahead and show you my chart that I made for this. If you haven't seen it, get the free Venus guide and you'll get this sent to you. But we can see that that meeting happened at 2 degrees of Aries, March 22nd. And so we're just, for me, the way I look at that is I'm just considering Mars more in this cycle and his impact, because I feel like the one of the assignments of this Venus and Aries cycle, especially because the Kali Yuga ended on March 25th. I'm going with that. Bibhu Dev Misra wrote his book about that, and that feels right to me. So this is a new cycle. It's the first sign of the zodiac, and it's asking us, what do you want Aries to be about? Because Aries has been about war. Aries has been about blood and guts and violence and war and rape. I mean, look at the Greek myth of Mars or Aries. So this Venus cycle is asking us, what do you want Aries to represent in the age of Aquarius, in the new paradigm? Aries is about birth. Aries is about reverence for life. Aries is about the feminine giving birth. And that is the energy that we are invited to reclaim, to embody, and to bring into what it is we're creating. So I would propose that time between the eclipse and then Wednesday is going to show us how we can anchor deeper into our hearts if conflict does come up. And especially if other people are behaving badly and they're being aggressive. For me personally, that's one of the hardest things, is to stay graceful and not engage when somebody is like trying to hook you in through their own aggressive behavior or their own disrespect. So just know that, just know that that's going to be a chance to anchor in deeper and to be more mindful. It doesn't mean we need to cave. It doesn't mean we don't need to assert ourselves. The positive version of Mars is to assert. The negative is to be aggressive, so we're looking for that assertion and a certain detachment. That is the blessing of Aquarius, is the bigger picture, the detachment, the zooming out. Whereas the Scorpio is like, come on, let's go. let's take it very personally and let's go. I mean, the shadow there. Okay, so that's the map. And we are dun, 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 here. So that's how you can see these new Venus portals. And the other thing to note is like, wow, we only have 2 more morning star Venus portals before Venus disappears from the sky on November 26th. So we are coming to the end. And I'm really feeling that energetically. Suddenly it's like, oh, wow, we're coming to the end of morning star. So that is why I am so passionate to ignite more visionary women to sync with Venus, to join this movement, to pay attention, to get engaged, and to begin to not only experiment with how do I work with the energetic theme of what's moving through the sky, but then also what is my own personal Venus astrology? What is my own personal inner heroine? What did I come here to do? This Venus and Aries cycle is saying this is the time to go for it. So, on that, in the spirit of that, I am going to tell you about a beautiful offer that I have for those that want to go into their own personal Venus astrology. And I want to share about that. I want to invite you to keep doing the lives, to keep sharing and chiming in, to get on the mailing list. I have been building this movement for really since 2015. I started to post about the Venus cycle, and then in 2020 everything started to click in with this framework and how I could help women beyond astrology. It's so much more than astrology. It is a way of knowing ourselves deeply. It is a way to frame our transformational process. It is a way to deepen into our gifts. It is a way to find the courage to bring them, is a way to show up vulnerably, to tell our truth, to not be intimidated by all of the pressure to censor ourselves. You know, women don't need to be censored. Women need to be really expressing ourselves and from the heart. I mean, obviously, if we're just um, expressing without the heart, that's a different story. So here's the invitation for you to stay engaged, to go ahead and give a like, to go ahead and subscribe to this channel, and to consider sharing this with another woman that you know, because I'm ready to take this to the next level with those that are feeling the resonance. So if you feel resonance with me, with this presentation, with this idea of working with the Venus cycle as a heroine's journey, I really want to encourage you to lean in whatever way you can and whatever way resonates for you, whether that's showing up for these lives, whether that's giving me feedback about what you want to learn more about. I have some very special things coming because of my own changes and my own transformation. And I'm really, really ready to take a roll call and be like, okay, who is feeling this? And who is feeling the support of this cosmic map to awaken you deeper into your own gifts and what you came here to do, because it is not easy. I mean, being an entrepreneur is a heroine's journey. Starting any creative project is a heroine's journey. And I am at this point where I'm like, when are the visionary women going to start working together at a next level? And that's the next level of Venus wisdom. We first find out our own personal design. You know, it's not human design, it's the astrology of your own Venus, your sign, and what cycle you were born into is usually the piece that no one knows. What phase in that cycle? How do you move with your sacred mission? Once we are really calibrated again as that sovereign being that understands who we are, understands our purpose, and keeps tapping into our own internal resources to show up time after time, even though there's so many obstacles, there's so many delays, there's so much pushback for the visionaries. If you're a visionary and you are here with a new spark of an idea, if a new solution is what you've been trying to bring forward, don't be surprised if there's pushback. We're not quite there yet. We're moving through this sludge. Just because the Kali Yuga ended, we have this transitional period, and it does feel like moving through sludge. So this framework and this community, which is going to be growing in different ways off of Facebook, is here to support you, to say, keep going, sister, keep going, keep going. Listen to that spark within you. Devote yourself to that vision and keep going in the way that you can, and take care of yourself. And how do we not do it all alone? How do we start to work together? So whatever our Venus star is, whatever cycle we were born into, it feeds into the next star, the next point in that star. So the 5-pointed star that you see the pictures of and the Venus rose, those are all different cycles connecting together. So if you are a Venus and Aries cycle now, if you were born with that, you are up. You are up, girlfriend. You are up, queen. Like, you really, really are being called to own your initiating fire, because your unique offering, whatever it is highlighted during this time, is fortified during this time. And we need you to rise up and be the initiating fire, so that then you can represent that dreaming into the new paradigm and then pass it to the next cycle. The next cycle is going to be a Scorpio cycle. So if you're a Venus Scorpio star, as I am, you are up next. That's what's going to happen in October 2026. So we're going to start to move together. And the message I keep getting is, when the visionary women learn to move together, we will be unstoppable. There will be no stopping us, because we will not be isolated in our vision, in our community, in our dream, doing it all alone. So many women are doing it all alone. They have their own membership, their own, like these women that put on summits, like, please give them love. I put on 4 summits in a couple of years ago. I couldn't keep it going. My goodness, like, it is so much. Like, if you're a solopreneur and you don't have a team, It's so much. So please give love on those women. If you see a summit come across your timeline, please just like it, love up those women. They're working so hard to highlight these other women and to bring wisdom into the world. And one thing I noticed on social media, that's interesting is that, and this might be more like Facebook and Instagram, but when a woman is putting out her offer, oftentimes there's not a lot of comments, there's not a lot of reaction to it. If a woman's just like sharing about her personal life, there's a lot more interaction. And I find that interesting. I'm like, why are we running when we see a woman being like, hey, I do this thing and I receive money for it. I mean, not that we're running, but energetically, it just feels like there's not that support. So please support your women, like the ones that you resonate with, the ones that you love. If you don't resonate with me, totally cool. Find the ones that you do. For me, I'm really here for the ones that are knowing that we're going to go on the organic timeline. We're not going into the whole AI, transhumanism control system. Or we're waking up to that and going, whoa, maybe I don't want that. So, that's who I'm here for, the real, the authentic, the ones that really want to develop that human potential and realize that human potential. If we go totally into the AI, we've lost the human potential, which is the whole point of the age of Aquarius and that golden age of awakening to our human potential. It's about humanity. It's not about the tech. So that's what I'm about. And I'm maybe a little different. And so what I'm saying is find the creators that you resonate with and support them in whatever way. Like it is so precious because the algorithms are squeezing everyone. And it is harder and harder and harder to put content out there. And it takes time. I mean, like people are putting hours and hours and hours into this content that then we're receiving, but we've kind of become crusty to it, crusty, like immune to it or something. What's the word I want there? I don't know. But it's like we don't value it because there's so much of it out there. So please find the ones that you resonate with and love them up. And maybe don't follow so many people. Follow the ones that you really resonate with, and we can all get more clear. Okay, so if you resonate with me and you're like, hey, I want to know what this is about, what's my Venus astrology? This is my special, and it's only good through Monday. So these are discounts that you can take advantage of to book in. I do have some spots in late September or in October. And so, what we can do with this, if you don't want or aren't ready for the deep dive into all of your astrology, you can have this Venus power call. It's 45 minutes, and you will come into the container of my world, which I will be looking at all of your astrology, all of the transits, and you're going to bring your question, you're going to bring your challenge in your business, in bringing your vision forth, and we're going to focus. And the difference is I'm just going to be working with you about finding that solution, finding that next step, opening the way. If you want to really understand and do the deep dive, I'm giving $150 off what I call the Venus Wisdom Activation Session. This is the Thinking with Venus starter kit, meaning that I am going to teach you the 5 dimensions of your Venus design, help you to have an experience of each of those, and it's an introduction, and yet it's very, very rich. I'm going to send you away with resources that will help you continue to sync with Venus for this cycle and the cycles to come. So even if that was the only session that you ever did with me, you are going to have a ton of resources to help you understand what is Venus pointing to inside me. I would propose that there's the secret astrology of Venus points to our soul qualities. And so if you want to live from that deeper place of soul, this is going to give you that reflection. It's going to take that Venus mirror, the circle, and then the cross, and it's going to shine it, reflect it to you so you can align with those qualities and start to intentionally cultivate those qualities in your being and bring yourself in to be the queen of your world, the hardest queen of your world, of your universe. let her be in charge. She's the inner heroine. So there's $150 off that session. It's a 90-minute session with a 30-minute follow-up call because we want to integrate after having that deep dive. And that is normally $497 and it's $150 off if you book before Monday. And then if you worked with me before and you want to go deeper, or you haven't tuned in with me in this Venus and Aries cycle, and you want to know the power of this cycle to activate you, initiating fire, like who doesn't need more initiating fire to get us going? I tap into this energy all the time because I'm aware of what this cycle is offering. So $50 off a deepening session, which brings it from 250 down to 200. So please get on my calendar. If you've been syncing with me and you haven't had a Venus wisdom tune in, this is absolutely the cycle to do it because this is a new cycle. It's the first sign. So what we put into motion in this cycle, it's going to really ripple for the next 8 years because these cycles repeat every 8 years, which is part of this incredible architecture of meaning that we start to see in synchronicity that starts to pop up when we start syncing with Venus. So that's the offer to work with me personally and intentionally. And I'm going to do one more check in with the notes. Maybe some other YouTube person will give me a tip of how I do that without oh, I could turn the volume down. Ha. That's a good way. Okay. Great. I have some new subscribers. Thank you. Thank you. I don't see any questions. So if you're coming in for the replay and you have questions, don't be shy. Like, please feel free to lay them down. Please put in your comments, anything you want to share. I have a feeling I'm not seeing the chat because I did see the chat. I did see there was. Oh, here we go. Open the panel. Oh, great. Now I'm seeing it. Oh, Popello. Hey, 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 girlfriend. Oh, wonderful to see you. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Oh, this is Kristen. I was like, who is FPV drone? Too funny. Oh, well, so blessed to have some of you here live. And those of you that have been following Venus for some time, like we are weaving a golden web of connection across this world, and it's ready to go to the next level. And stay tuned because I have some ideas about that. All right, lots of love, happy eclipsing, and really take good care of yourself and go easy. And yeah, stay sweet to yourself. And yeah, thanks for being here. So just giving gratitude for everyone who showed up, and just feeling inspired to send some good of that, some good energy just out, out to all of those listening, out to all of those who are watching the replay, into, anyone who needs some extra love in your families, in your community, in world situations that are really tragic. Let's take this beautiful energy of being together and let's just dedicate that out, and let that spread. Let that be radiating out into where it's needed, and let that be received by those that need it. Some kindness, some care, some connection. All right. From my heart to yours, blessed Venus Friday. Great to be with you. See you next week. And please, if you have like suggestions or content ideas, lay them